Ooh. Let me start over. Hi. I am just going to record myself doing makeup as I'm explaining it because it just seems more fun to do. I have only started 2 steps so far, which is clean face, kind of, and I put a shit ton of sunscreen. And what I mean by a shit ton, and let me show you actually. Let me show you the evidence. But anyways, it's on parts because this is my last tube before I start the new one, and I was trying to get every little ounce of it. I mean, look at this. There's still a lot more, but because there's so much already that was on my face, you had to be there. It was a moment where you had to be there. I put that much on, so it just already felt like a foundation. So my new technique I've been doing is I've been just putting on you know, skincare foundation, run it all the way back. Before I put on my foundation, I've been just setting my sunscreen. Yes, you heard it, setting with my sunscreen with a setting powder. And of course, we're using Laura Mercier right now. That's my like good classic go-to. Swear by it. Still just as good. Well, I am gonna go in with my MAC Face and Body. I like this foundation. I don't even know it's considered foundation. I really want to consider it more of a tinted foundation. Yeah, tinted. I'm just going in it and buffing it in on top of my set phase. I'm stiffling for once. I'm not like shifting it around with this buffing motion. I'm literally just stiffling it into my face, pressing and, you know, making sure it's set everywhere else, and really take my time. Like, there's no reason to rush this process. I am going to go in with my concealer, which it is a few shades darker. And now you see this is in an e.l.f. tube, but it's actually NYX concealer. I think it's Bear With Me is what it's called. I don't like the idea of it being in a pump. For one, it's just really inconvenient, and I don't care about the sanitary part when it comes down to transferring it into this guy, because mind you, I clean and gutted the whole entire like tube of this. I actually like gutted it out before I can even finish it because it wasn't my best concealer. I didn't care for it, so that's what I did. And I pumped the whole entire tube of the concealer from NYX right into this guy. And I go pretty crazy with this because I'm already wearing such a light coverage foundation, I guess, like a light base. Maybe this is why my foundation and base look always full coverage, because you see what I'm doing? Yeah, so I'm going pretty hefty on the concealer part, which I don't mind because I do like a more highlighted look, considering my foundation shade is slightly a little darker, even though it is my summer shade. So I just basically go back with the same brush that I use my foundation for. Like, I don't really care about using many different brushes because, mind you, they're all very lightweight coverage, so I don't feel like it does anything differently if you don't switch it out. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, I go outer edge of my concealer first. I don't go right into the impact just because I want it to look very snatch, you know, very brightening. Because if I go right into this and I'm like buffing it out, I'm really just shearing out my concealer. That's how I say it. And I'm just shearing out the lines and with the edges just to make sure that it's all blended first before I go right in there. Yeah. And honestly, I thought about making this video, and I'm doing it right now because in my head I'm thinking, when is time, you know? When is the time? I've always ever wanted to record myself doing my makeup and talking out loud. I've always ever wanted to do that, and I've done it before when I was really serious in my influencer days, but now I don't really give a shit. I just want to like actually do it just for my own entertainment. So you know, so I can look back and be like, yeah, I did that. And not seeking into something a little bit more too artificial, because I've seen some of those videos I've watched of myself doing it for like commercially, you know, and just so cringy. Like, I just can't. And I would love to look back at this video and be like, damn, I did that, you know? I think I have watched it, like, if I'm being really honest, I think I've ever watched it 4 times alone on my own. But I guess like maybe when I did see other people watch it around me, like my friends or family, you know, I immediately tell them to like shut that shit off because I was like, I don't want to watch the whole thing. At one point, I think they played this one video that me and Addie used to do, like a 50-hour long video of us getting ready in the middle of a Christmas party. Like, why? I did it in a way where it's a little bit more authentic. I'm not holding back. That's my kitty cat. She just got spayed, so don't mind her. But, you know, I just want to be a little bit less filtered. I don't feel like I'm being too filtered right now because this is what I would say and do if I was being recorded. Like, I don't have anything to hide. I mean, hello, headband. Listen, back then, Gigi would have not put a headband for her videos, okay? She would have looked at least snatched from top to bottom. Face was getting there, you know? But now I'm just like, I don't really care. She does still contouring. But I go back and forth. Like sometimes I would use between Anastasia contouring stick, or I use this thing from KVD. I don't exactly know what it does. Gel liquid effect contouring. It's a contour liquid. It's a liquid contouring gel base. Okay, no, it's a gel liquid contouring. And I still like to keep my liquid base pretty light. I don't like heavy shit, which is ironic because it gets heavier than this after this step. But yeah, I don't go right into swatching that on my face. I kind of just go in with like a buffing brush and take a little bit of it from the applicator here and kind of just buff it in. My only technique with this is that I just like to build it like slowly as I go. Like I don't like to go like heavy and then worrying about it later. So I'm very calculated when it comes down to my contouring because, mind you, I'm pretty set in stone and pretty strong on my eye and brows, I feel like. But when it comes down to my features, I'm still learning a lot, despite the fact that I've been doing makeup for a decade now. There's still so much to learn, like, and there's obviously a lot of product coming out each year and different trends, you know. But, you know, I like to stay still true to that statement in some ways, that I don't like putting it on heavy, because setting with powder is not going to necessarily set the whole thing. It's still going to be underneath it, and I really have oily skin, so everything just feels already heavy to me. So if I'm going to do this technique, at least I want to do it very lightly with light products, you know. Like I don't want to go in heavy. So she's still pretty true to herself, if you ask me. So sometimes when I do have some left on my brushes, I like to kind of go around my temples and like around the forehead just to kind of bring it together, because I mean I do have a smaller head, I mean a small forehead, so you don't, like, if you have a forehead like mine, you don't want to go crazy on the bronzer because then you're just shrinking it down, you know. You don't want to do that. You want to be a little bit proportionate. You see what I'm talking about? Like it kind of just snatch it a little bit, or maybe that's just in my head, I don't know. So what I like to do is, and depending on the mood, right now I'm in a mood to put it on top first. Usually I start on the bottom, but I like to kind of just go in this too. You see what I'm talking, like, you know what I'm talking about, like kind of creating a triangle instead of just like wiping like side to side. I am trying to contour to the natural of my nose bridge right here, and kind of just lifting it up by like going over this two nostril area too, not just like swiping back and forth. And then for this guy, now that I have it, I like to kind of just like really take the time and blend this part out, because if you're not really taking the time, it's gonna really look like this. It may look good on photos maybe, but in person you're just like having like this awkward, weird little line that makes people want to just go up to you and be like, hey, let me just, I don't want that. So really take the time. Back then I would waste a lot of time trying to get my brows to look alike. Now I don't really give a fuck. But with my nose, that's kind of my like brows nowadays. Like I'm just like taking really long contouring it when it just looks the same. I'm like, it's just nose. It's really not that serious. I know a lot of times people would start from up here and going their way down, which is what I used to do, and which is why I don't anymore, because of that reason. I feel like when you start up here, you kind of just tend to elongate your nose. So you want to work with the base first. I work on my button nose a little first, and then I work my way up to the bridge over here and right into this little socket area, and then again whatever left I have, product left I have in my brush, I kind of just tend to bring that right and connect it to the brow. So yeah, that's kind of the nose. And like I said, with this area, you don't want to have it too snatched because it just looks really funky in person. Like right now it might look good, but you'll see what I'm talking about. Like, just don't overdo it, because on the side, I mean, it's inevitable. Like, I can't do anything about it. I don't have a perfect nose, okay? So this is where I go back in with the powder, but instead of using a loose powder, I tend to go for the press. And I think that's kind of where I got the full coverage from. Okay, so I'm using the Mineralized Skin Finish by MAC. It's my go-to. kind of. It's been there. I haven't used it every day, but it's been there. And it's a good go-to when you're looking for a skin finish. Like, it's literally called skin finish. It stay true to its hype. And I like to use a lighter color. So, big fluffy brush, double it on, don't drag, pat it down, set it down, y'all. Like, really take the time to set this part down. Anyways, yeah, I just go over it on the areas where it needs a little bit more highlighted. So yeah, that's as much as I'll go. I don't want to go over it too much because I'm gonna go over with this. I like to put some on the back of the brush here and kind of just go over where I feel like I do get a little oily, which is everywhere. Anyways, yeah. So my base is technically put on hold for now. I'm not technically done with it. I'm kind of going off based on the Korean routine. I've noticed that they tend to do their base first, but they don't do like crazy base like I do. Like, I put on the contouring, the blush, and all that kind of stuff, the liquid. What they normally do is they put on foundation, concealer, and then they pat it down with some powder, and then they move on to the eyes, and then they'll come back to the face later on. And that's kind of what I'm doing. Like, I can't go without my contouring base and all that, so I like to go with that first. But after powdering though, I kind of will like to set the face on the side, and this is where I do my eyes. I normally use a different palette that I depot and put all into one, but today, because I don't have that right now, like I said, if I don't have it with me, I'll find something else that works within reach. Well, today I'm going to use the Huda Beauty Toffee Brown palette. So what I tend to do is I go in with like this medium orangey brown, and I'm just gonna go right into the blending. I don't have a technique. My technique is like, you know, hope for the best, because I already wear very heavy eye makeup, so I don't really tend to care how much I put on, as long as I can have enough to where I can blend it out, because mistakes do happen. It's going with a bigger fluffy brush. And thankfully, usually most palette have this lighter base color. I just go in, tap off the excess, and then just blend out the edges. Because, I mean, you don't really gotta go all over. Like, you just gotta blend the edges just so, like, it's not looking so crappy blended. Like, I just go in with a big fluffy brush. I mean, I could go a little smaller with the brush, but it's too late. I just kind of go back and forth in very light-handed motion. Like, it looks like I'm going pretty heavy, but honestly, I'm not at all. Like, as big as the brush is for blending, I tend to just kind of do like a little dabble in the palette, tap off the excess always, and then I very lightly, like just blend back and forth between the eye socket, and then just hope for the best. I know it might look a little crazy right now. Yeah, I just go in, and I mean, I've been doing my makeup for so long now. Like, I trust myself to get to where I need it to be, you know? So all these like things that you might define as mistake, I've been there, done that, and I usually can combat it by doing different variety of things to make sure I don't get too far. My eyeliner has a hit or miss moment, okay? Like, I can have like the best tips and tricks on my wing liner, but it has a mind of its own. And sometimes my hand wants to go further than it needs to, what I intended to, but it is what it is. Now I'm just going back in with this big old brush with some light translucent color to really blend out the edges, because for like, I don't know, I just like to do it because I do believe that it does make a difference. So really, I'm just going back and forth. Like, I'm not doing anything too different other than just kind of going back in with the same shade, building it up, making sure, you know, I stay in my lane and not go too far out, because I tend to do that. So I'm grabbing like a more denser fluffy brush. This, compared to this guy, this was more blendable. Like, you know, like it has more fluff to it, it has more fluid to it. So technically I shouldn't be using this to apply depositing color. I should be using that to blend, but there's no freaking rules. So yeah, with the darker color, I tend to be very careful with how much I load up on the brushes because it's darker. You don't want to start mudding out your eyeshadow. You get too excited and then all of a sudden it gets muddy. Anyways, yeah, so you just dip a little bit, tap, tap, tap. And for this one, I like to be a little bit more extra cautious when I'm applying it on my eyes. Like I don't want to just go right into it. So I usually have a starting point, which is like the outer corner, okay? And then, like I said, I'm just so used to it that like I just kind of trust where I know where I'm going with it. So after I have like a good start here and blending that in, I kind of just go in with the same method I did with the first shade. I don't tend to go further up. I kind of just stick to the same area. Same here. I'm going right into it. Get it to it. Yes. I'm going back to this guy with a little bit of this same shadow, okay? And I like to kind of just blend, you know, the two together, not directly on the darker shade that I work on, but I like to kind of go around the edges. You know, I do the whole method of blending out the edges a lot with the lighter shade because it does create, you know, layers. Like, why am I adding a lighter color to the darker area where I intended to darken? Like, that just doesn't make any sense. Always trust to go back to a lighter shade here, tap up the access with a much puffier shade and then blend out the outer edges. I can tell you right now that I'm trying to go for more of a natural look. Out of control, out of control. So I like to go in with a thinner, or sorry, yeah, not thinner, but like a much smaller fluffy brush here, a little bit more dense too. And I go in with the same darker color. Since it is smaller, I do have a little bit more control to the area where I do want it to deepen up a little bit. And being that's more denser, I do find that it does help with, like, it just helps to add more definition, you know? Or maybe it's just me. Okay, so I like to go in with this compact mirror because I don't want to heavily rely on the bigger mirror that I'm looking at here because sometimes my eyesight fails me, okay? You see, I don't know if you noticed the difference. You definitely would notice more details and more control, I guess. Like, listen, if you actually rewind and go back to the clip before I did this technique, I think you would see the difference. I do. Anyways, so I go in with this one. And you see, sometimes I don't stick to the routine. Like, there's a moment where I would go in with a dark one, or there's a moment where I'll go with a lighter one. But for this purpose, I'll go with the lighter one. I like to use the edges of the shader brush. Like, I don't like doing it like this quite yet. I usually do this just so I have more control. I kind of just do that and I add in to each corner, and then I usually tend to close my eyes. It makes the shading better. Like, I don't know if anyone is like me or it's just me, but I feel like it just makes it easier. But yeah, I kind of go underneath, okay? And then once I have the right control, I kind of just go right into it by closing my eyes. When I tell you trust the process, this is what it looks like. And then I turn my brushes here and then kind of just, you know, blend a little bit on the outer part. I don't usually worry too much about the inner part, but usually the outer part, I like to kind of bring it into my cheekbones just because I have a really high cheekbone. So I tend to go pretty low with my eyeshadow and high up with my blush to kind of connect them to create like this really nice like dead look. Yep. So what I do is, there's like no real explanation to this. I kind of just go right from the corner to corner and then I just draw them out. And I don't care for it to be perfectly in my waterline. It can like go a little over because you're gonna blend that out, okay? See, it's not really perfect. I don't know if you can see. I put a little bit more on that side, so I'm gonna just get a little bit more using the same shader brush, and you just blend it. And like I said, I think it's better off if you just use the side of the shader brush because you definitely have more control. But if you like to go crazy and want to make it look really, really smoky, then so be it, and do it on the edges, like, or not at the edges, but like the whole entire brushes. I'm just blending it on the side like this. It helps. I'm gonna do the liner off camera because it's a lot. Doing eyeliner takes so long for me, and everyone does it differently, so I'm gonna skip that part. Like, I really don't want to film it. Yeah, so after this, I will probably go right into my eyeliner. So right now I look kind of crazy because everything is just all blended out, but trust the process, okay? But I'm gonna go do my eyeliner off camera, so I'm gonna be back. I'm back. As you can see, I did a little more than just eyeliner. I was like, I'm already taking too long on my eyeliner, and of course I'm gonna show you how to put on my lashes and then my eyebrows. I'm like, I'm pretty sure you're not gonna want to sit here for 30 minutes watching me doing my eyebrows. And mind you, because I was trying to hurry, my eyebrows didn't even go the way I want. This one is like way up, and then this one is like down. Anyways, so this is kind of what I'm talking about when I'm talking about like going back to the face, because you know, like obviously you've been touching around your face a lot, and there's probably some areas where your face probably removed. So it's always best, and this is a good time to go back in before you're going with your powder product, is to go back in with a brush with a little bit of a translucent powder and just re-pat down everything, you know? I just go in with this guy and my butter bronzer by Physician here in deep bronzer, right? Is that the name? Or is it Meru butter bronzer? I don't know, whatever it is, it comes in this packaging. Just go right on top of my cheekbones. Remember how I mentioned about the eyeshadow being flown all the way back here? Well, now just connect it. Like, honestly, it's not like a secret formula, but I just find that it helps to kind of like bring a more smokier eye, if that's what you're going for, you know? Y'all, look at that. Come on now. It's as easy as it can get. And then whatever left I have left, I just kind of go around the temple a little bit. Not necessarily like directly on the temple, just right above it. And then right underneath my chin, I like to just chisel that area. And right where my jawline meets. Like, I'm not loading any more product on my brush. I'm kind of just chiseling it out. Going back in with that brush again that I contoured initially, like, yeah, you shouldn't be mixing your brushes after you use it on wet, on dry powder, but it's really just no, it's not that serious. So yeah, I'm gonna do the same thing, but this time I'm gonna start from the bottom. I feel like I have more control when I start with the bottom. And then whatever left I have on the brush, I kind of just go right on above here to really chisel that part out. And then I kind of just start from this bottom, and once I get enough, I kind of just go right back down to blend everything together. My technique is definitely a little different, but it's not that different from what most makeup gurus and, you know, people who wear makeup does. I don't know. This is my technique that I like to kind of follow by. And honestly, it's kind of based off of OCD too. Like, I feel like I have to do that, otherwise it's gonna bother me. So it's not really a technique. I'm kind of just going back and forth between the nose contouring to make sure everything is all blended and it's all, you know, good. Don't look at me on the side. Whenever I see people in person and they look at my makeup, I'm like, look at me straight forward. Don't go to my side. Don't look above. Don't look below. Just face forward. I like to do this each time. Like, they're looking at me like this, I'm like just following their face. This part is not necessary, but I do think it's kind of necessary. It's one of those things where I think it doesn't make a difference, but it's a mindset thingy. Like, when I do it, I think I'm doing something. So I take the same brush and I go around like the rims of my lips. The reason why I do that is because, like most people, my lip is weird. I don't have that defined lips like most people do. So if you do already have a very defined lips, I would skip this step. Like, you don't really need to do it. But for the sake of the fact that my lips is not like, I don't even know if you can see it, but from where I'm seeing here too and where I'm looking at the mirror, I don't see my existing like shape of my lips. It's kind of just there. Like, my lips kind of just there. Yeah, I tend to do this part and contour my lips a little bit just to add some definition prior to lip product, you know? It's like a contour for your lips, for sure. So yeah, I do that on my Cupid's bow. And it might look messy, you know, but I don't give a fuck. It works, then it works. I'll use the Cash Beauty Enriched Sienna Lip Liner. And then, so what I'll do is this, I mean, there's no secret formula either, but there's definitely a way that I do that just makes sense in my head. I tend to go from the bottom first, so side to side, you know. Yes, I overline. You see that? Yeah. Sometimes I see that people usually either use their finger or a brush to kind of blend the inside of it, but I'm lazy. So what I do, if I need to do that, then I'll just, it kind of helps, you know? Yeah, it kind of helps. It does. It does something for me. And then I just use this guy, put it right on top of it. I feel like blotting it does help to dry the product down faster. I don't know why. But it does. Yeah. I just go back into the lip liner and just redefine, you know, just back and forth. Oh, you know what? I forgot about blush and highlighter. So for blush, this is the brush I use. Don't judge me, like it literally works, so whatever. Part of me just, yeah, I'm gonna just work with the darker pink. I like to go a little bold, you know? When I'm there, I'm already here, I'm set, I'm ready to go bold. Then I usually go right above my cheeks and connecting it to the eyeshadow. And you see what I mean? It just connects everything together. You don't gotta go too far, girl. Yeah, so right on top of the cheekbones. I like to add it as if I'm adding like highlighter, and then I kind of just blend in to the bronzer seamlessly. Like, I mean, take your time, you know, apply as you go. And I like to kind of just go over my nose. Once again, it may or may not doing anything, but it's a mindset. It does something for me. I use the Mineralized Skin Finish by MAC. You see, I feel like it worked out because I still don't think I need that much highlighter in my life. But ironically, I'll show you what I'll do next. So I use this pretty much like everywhere, like your cheekbones, nose, bridge, sometimes your forehead. I used to put it on my chin. I don't know why I stopped, but there's really no reason to. Like, go off, you know? And then, when I'm telling you there's layers to it, there is. Bam! Of course, the Fenty Beauty Diamond Bomb How Many Carats. But this one, go off, you know? I put this on my body all the time. But I place this kind of on top of the Soft and Gentle. And this is definitely going to give me more of like that globe look, you know what I'm saying? So, and I don't go too crazy with this one like I did with the first one, but I like to kind of use it as a finisher to my highlighter in addition. So yeah, but it doesn't stop here. This part is not necessary, but it's necessary. I use the ColourPop. This is actually for eyeshadows or a topper. So I guess you can kind of use it for anything. But it's called Lady Bird Super Shock Shadow. I just take a little bit right on my like ring finger here. And I use this just right on top of my nose to create more of a button nose. And you know, I might be a hypocrite, but this kind of does look like or remind me of the highlighter back in the day when people just go crazy with it and then you have like a little bit of like cast. This, if you're not careful, it can do that, but this is why I'm using my finger, because when I first ever did it, I did it with a brush and that looked exactly how I did not want it to look on my nose. So yeah, I use my finger and I find that it's easier to control. See, so like when you look side to side, if it's not seeing like that gray cast, then you're fine. And whatever left I have on my finger, I tend to kind of just put this right on the bridge. I mean, I can go a little bit more, just a little bit more. My intrusive thoughts just telling me to just, there you go, you know. I tend to use different variety of setting spray. Lately I've been going pretty basic. I don't know why, but maybe because it makes my skin feels good, but I've been using the Morphe Continuous Setting Spray. I like to preferably use that before when my skin feels a little bit fatigued. I use this to kind of wake my skin up. But in terms of long wearing setting spray, for different reasons, my go-to is the One Size by Patrick Starr mattifying setting spray, and then the Charlotte Tilbury. I mean, it's, do I have to explain? You know, I like a continuous spray. I love the fact that it's a continuous spray, and his actually mattifies my makeup, which means like I kid you not, I don't think my makeup moved ever while using his setting spray, but I ran out of that and I never went back for it because it just got really popular. So it is a little bit back order right now, but that's okay because I then would use the Charlotte Tilbury. I would suggest using the Charlotte Tilbury because I feel like the Charlotte Tilbury, once it dries down, it actually makes your makeup look more skin-like, but long wearing, you know? So it works out. But otherwise, right now, for the sake of this video, I think it's just best to just use this, even though, should I? Oh, fuck it. And it just smells great. Like, I actually really like the smell of this, and it feels really refreshing on the skin. My eyebrows is really messing me up. Like, it just looks like I'm doing this. Oh, my hair is crazy. It was wet when I put it up, so now it's all like crinkled up in the worst way possible. There you go. It looks a lot better now. Yeah, but my hair, like, gosh. Sometimes I wish I was one of those girls where when I tie my hair up and when you put it down, it has like this really natural like waves. But look at this shit. Like, what is this? What is this? No. Ignore it, ignore it. Let me go put on some earring sets to look, okay? Let me see here. I'm just wearing like a gold earring I got off of Temu. I've been obsessed with that app, so don't judge me. You see? Meanwhile, I'm wearing like a t-shirt and like an oversized sweater over, but don't mind that as long as your makeup is popping, okay? It kind of really depends where I'm going. Like if I'm going to a grocery store and I happen to have my makeup on, I don't care what I'm wearing. I will wear freaking, you know, socks over my shoes. No, okay. I don't know why I'm going there. But what I'm trying to say is I don't care what my fashion sense is looking like as long as my makeup's beat for the grocery store. If I happen to wear it. If I don't have it, then whatever. But let's say if I'm working and I know I'm gonna be seeing a lot of people, the fit gotta match the outfit. So this may not apply, but if it must, I still feel poppin'. Like I feel like my makeup makes up majority of my attitude and my personality. So when it's on, she's on. I don't have any personality without my makeup on, which is kind of what I've noticed now that I'm like seeing my makeup on videos. I'm like, wow, when is she game? Like I just realized that I didn't even feel like this even when I had my lips on, and that was like almost like to the last part of the step before I like put on my blush and stuff like that. But I think it was the fact that my hair is down, my earrings are on. It completes the look. So if you don't ever feel good about yourself, just do random makeup here and there, add a little bit of jewelry, maybe have your hair fixed. God, my hair could be in such better condition. It's overdue for a cut, so don't mind it. Anyways, y'all, my name is Gg. So I am hoping if there is anyone that's watching, you know, nice to meet you. I'm hoping this won't be my last time making videos. This was just a spontaneous, like, ooh, I want to film myself and talk to myself. If it's not now, when, you know? So I wanted to do that. But even if I don't have an audience, I would like to look back and be like, yeah, I did this, you know? So either way, see y'all around. Bye.